have a very interesting idea about solar power systems. See if you guys agree with this. My thought is, before you buy your first battery, before you buy your inverter, and even before you buy your first solar panel, I think it pays big dividends to get something like this right here, a whole home power monitoring system. This particular one is from Refoss. That's what we're going to be focusing on today, since they were kind enough to send this out to me to test and incorporate in my system here. However, before I had this, I had a different one. In fact, that was one of the early videos I put out on the channel. I installed it years ago, way before I acquired any of this solar gear. And that's because I think everyone should take at least a year's worth of data, consumption-wise, from their house and be able to crunch the numbers so that way when they pull the trigger on their whole home power solution, they know exactly what they need to satisfy their needs and demands. If you don't do that, you're basically shooting from the hip and trying to guess what your needs will be. And I can almost guarantee you, you're either going to spend way more money than you need to because you got a much larger system than you actually needed, or you're going to be wishing your system was bigger because you underestimated your power needs and your solar system isn't sufficient. Would you guys agree with this thought process? Let me know down in the comments. The thing I'm super excited about with Refoss here is that they integrate with Home Assistant. That's a really big deal because that opens the door to so many cool opportunities for ways to use the data that this whole home power monitoring system gives you. Then fast forward, when you get solar, this is going to give you a nice snapshot of what is going on in your house. Yeah, you can see from your inverter how much power it's pushing in, but what all is using that? And you'll be able to find out that there's stuff using power that doesn't need to be using power, and thus preserve your battery capacity. Plus, with the ability to integrate this with Home Assistant, you can create some very powerful automations to utilize your solar power in a more efficient manner while it's being generated, which could potentially either save you money on batteries, or at very least, wring out every watt that you can possibly use, and not just have the issue where you fill the batteries up and then, just waste the sunlight hours when you could have a load get triggered to turn on and utilize some of that power. I foresee that being especially helpful for grid tie systems where you don't get a one-for-one exchange of power. Another reason why I think a monitoring system like this, and even a potentially off-grid solar solution like I've got right here, would be important. It actually gives me a snapshot of the power that is coming from the 12,000 XP in a mobile app situation without me connecting my 12,000 XP to the internet. You can see my dongle is sitting right there, but it's not plugged in. That's typically how I run this. I only plug the dongle in to run a firmware update or whatever if I need to. But I try to actually leave my inverter disconnected from the internet. But it's sure nice to be able to monitor what this is doing, power production wise. And so to have something like this that is not attached to what's actually generating the electricity for me, but still gives me remote monitoring access, and then if this gets compromised somehow or whatever, it's not going to cause a power failure or shutdown in my house. So let me show you how I've installed this. Let's unbox this smart energy monitor. So it looks like we've got some documentation here. This appears to be the main base unit. There's all these small CT clamps. I guess that wasn't quite all of them. There's all of them. 2 boxes worth. This appears to be a little antenna. This appears to be some kind of power cable. We've got some short jumper wires, wire nuts, and some little plugs. And here are the big CT clamps. So step 1, turn off the main power. So then go ahead and take the cover off your breaker panel. Then get a multimeter, and we're going to test between the 2 bus bars, between the 2 hots right there, we have 0 volts. I've got my black probe stuck right there in the middle of that big ground wire. So now I'm going to check each hot leg to ground, and you can see we have no volts and 0 volts to ground. So that's just verifying that the power is indeed turned off at that main breaker, so we can proceed to work safely inside this panel. Be aware that power is still live in your main feeder wire, okay? So be very respectful of those as you work. So the first thing it wants us to do in the instruction manual is place the main box right here and get its Wi-Fi antenna routed outside of the metal enclosure of the breaker panel. I simply got rid of one of these knockouts. You can see my finger right there. You can see this antenna has this nice rubber grommet. So I'm just going to feed that up. Change of plan. So that looks nice, but can you see how that just falls right out? That's because it's not tight in that grommet hole. So I've turned that grommet over, so now, and that's preventing this from going down the hole. Next, this unit actually needs some electricity. And so we've got to wire up this little harness right here. First, it just plugs in right there. And this next part, you need to know a little bit about electricity in order to successfully do this. So you've got 4 wires, a black, a white, a red, and a blue. If you're in the United States, you're going to have 2 sides of your panel. One side that gets fed by one color of wire, in this case it's black, and the other side fed by another color of wire, and in this case it is red. And then you also have usually a white wire, and that's the neutral wire, and then you have a bare copper wire usually that is earth ground. With this particular unit, we don't need to worry about earth ground at all. And then take note, there are clamps labeled A clamps, B clamps, and C clamps. A clamps are going to correspond with this black wire, and we're going to hook the black wire up to the phase in the panel that has the black wire coming to it. And this subpanel is really clear and open, so you can see really good. Can you see these metal plates right back here? Those are your bus bars in the breaker panel. Can you see how there's one on this side and one on this side? And then notice that there's little points. So the black side comes in, and then there's a point right here, and then there's another point right here. And in between those 2 points, there's one that comes in from the red. So that's how you pick up power off each of these bus bars, is when the breakers clip onto those little points. Why am I telling you this? We need to connect the black wire to a breaker that is connecting to one of these black side bus bars. I'm going to use one of these breakers up here at the top that I've already got installed. And by simply pulling this breaker off, can you see how that top spot is getting fed by this bus bar coming in on the left side? So where these 2 breakers are, that is currently a black connection point. So we can go ahead and use one of these breakers to connect our black wire. So I took this breaker out because I want to show you something. Right in there where that wire connects is where we need to go with our new black wire here. However, this wire is significantly smaller than the wire that's currently in there. And so we won't get a good connection if we put these wires together. So in your kit here, they send you these little jumper wires that are thicker, as well as some wire nuts. And so using that little jumper wire there, I'm able to safely get these 2 conductors under that lug and have it so that this is very tight and will not pull out. And then you simply wire nut the jumper to the smaller wire right here. So now, as you saw, these 2 breakers are on the same leg, this black leg right here. So I need a breaker that's actually right here, coming off the red leg bus bar. So now you can see I've installed a new breaker. You can see it's attaching to that red bus bar, and I've attached the jumper with the red wire to that. So now we're going to get voltage from up here, which is coming from the black leg, and voltage from right here, which is coming from the red leg. Next, we need to hook up the white neutral wire. We'll just put it under one of these screws on the neutral bus. That leaves blue. If you look at the back of the main unit, you'll see that we have A2 through 6, B2 through 6, and then we have C1 through 6. This blue wire is for C circuits. That would be either a 3rd phase if you're doing 3-phase. In standard residential applications, it's just the 2 hot legs. So we don't have 3-phase. So in that case, we could just connect blue to any random one of these 2 legs that we so desire. So I'm going to go ahead and connect mine to this red leg because, again, it does not matter. It just needs to get power somehow. Next, we're going to hook up these large current transformers on the main lines coming in. And they are directional, so you can see the flow of power coming down. We need to flow from K to L. Just like that, they are labeled. A1 goes to black, B2 goes to red, or at least that's what I'm going to do. And you can see these are placed in the correct direction of the flow of the power. And they simply come in and plug into the A1 and B1 terminals. So next, we are simply going to take the different current transformers here, these small ones, and clamp them around different circuit wires. So see this black wire coming off this circuit? That is a wire I want to clamp. There's another one right back here. Then I've got some 240 volt breakers right here. It's not mandatory, but it's recommended that you put a current transformer on each leg for each of the 240 volt circuits. The A transformers correspond to your A circuit, okay? So all the circuits coming off this bus bar, remembering that it alternates every other spot. So these two are on A, but then if there were two here, this one and one more here, those would be on B, and then A, B, and it alternates. And that's why when you have a 2-pole breaker like this, you're going to get power off both A and B legs, and that's how you get your 240 volt power. So I'm going to match everything to the appropriate location here, and I'll come back once I'm done with that. All right, I've got all my current transformers hooked up onto my auxiliary zones, and I've made sure that I've aligned them for the flow of power, because the power is going to come off the bus bar, through the breaker, and down the wire. So incidentally, if you forget or mess up on one, you can reverse the direction in the app, but it'll be easier on you to just put them in the correct way to begin with. And then can you see here on my large 240 volt circuit that I've got one clamp on each of the different wires, and this is kind of upside down, but I've got all my A clamps coming to the A terminals and all my B clamps coming to the B terminals. If I filled all the A's and B's up, then I just move on to the C ones, and those could go on either leg. Because I'm going to have some unused ports, I'm supposed to take these insulating plugs and put them in so that it insulates the open holes, just like that. So now would be a good time to go ahead and do some cable management. Hopefully, as you've been putting things in, you've gone through and already done some cable management ahead of time. But you need to kind of clean things up, because with 16 of these sensors, it can get really messy really fast in a breaker panel. Next comes the slightly scary part. While this is open and you can see this little light right here, they want you to go ahead and energize panel again and make sure you can connect this to the app before you put the cover on. Exercise extreme caution, because all of a sudden everything's going to get live and there's multiples of points in this panel that you can touch that can cause electrocution. So with that, let's flip the switch. 3, 2, 1, please don't blow up. And you can see we're starting to get the boot up sequence on this device. The rest of the setup should happen in the app. Just a quick note, there is this big button right here on the top. That is the reset button. So if for some reason you need to completely reset this and start configuration over again, that is the button you press and hold to do that. So with the light just slowly blinking on this unit like that, and after creating an account, we're going to go ahead and click the plus button right here. It wants to know if it can find Bluetooth devices. We're going to go ahead and allow. There it came up. We're going to hit add. And now it wants to connect to a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And it's set it up. Let's go ahead and tap on it. So it looks like we kind of got a snapshot of all the different sensors here, which is kind of cool. So right now in this long list, we don't really know what A2 and A1 and A3 does. So we need to go give names to all of these circuits so we actually understand what's happening. So we can come over here to device name in the settings, and not only can we change the main energy monitor name, but we can change every single one of the little circuits from its just lettering to something actually usable. So you can see now it says A2 left 20 amp outlet, A3 right 20 amp outlet. However, B1 is clear down here. See, B1 main line 2. So I'm going to just simply pick this up and drag it up here to the top and put it right below the main line 1. So that way I've got my two main lines at the top and then my sub-circuits below that. So let me show you what to do with one of these big 240 volt breakers. Take note of the number of the clamps that are on each of the wires coming from it. And you can go ahead and label them and organize them so you can see line 1, line 2 in the app. But you don't want to have to add up the power from line 1 and line 2 every single time. So you can just come here to the settings and click merge channel. And then what we're able to do is merge the B2 channel and the A4 channel. Hit next. We'll give this a name. So we'll just call it grid input EG4 12000XP. We'll hit save. And now if we come back to the main list, up here at the top, you'll see that we have this new unit. And it's called total grid input EG4 12000XP. And it's the sum total of the two legs of power combined. Now there's another option here. Maybe you don't have enough clamps to do a clamp on each of the two legs coming off a 240 volt breaker. You can do just one leg. Come into the settings here to where it says circuit factor right here. We'll click on that. And then there's some instructions up here, but you can do a value of 2, which would then double the power that one CT clamp is seeing. And so that's kind of a poor man's way of monitoring a 240 volt circuit without using up 2 clamps. Also noted in the instructions up here at the top, if you have put one of your clamps the wrong direction, you can simply change this figure to a -1, or in the case of a 240 volt clamp, you do a factor of -2, and that would reverse the reading from the clamp. couple of other things you can do in this app. You can come in here to your electricity bill calculation and fill out the information in here so that you can actually have it calculate your power bill on an ongoing basis. So that way you always have an idea at every point in the month how your power bill is currently sitting. And then you can also export the history to like an email or something if you just want to get like a daily report or a weekly report or something on your energy consumption. That's kind of a handy feature. Another nice feature here just baked into the app is this alert. So let's say we want one of these outlets. We want to be alerted by total consumption that exceeds X number of kilowatt hours. That could be helpful, for example, like a freezer or fridge or something. If it's on its way out, you'll be able to tell because it will use a whole bunch of power that it normally doesn't use. And getting notified could allow you to go and hurry and save the food or something before it goes bad. That's just an example. There's a bunch of ways you could use smart alerts like that. Coming down here to advanced settings, this is mostly just for access to the device itself. And then if we go all the way out here, you can come down here to smart, and you can create some scenes and some automations and routines. So Refoss actually sells some smart switches and smart relays. So you can configure here a very cool setup. Let's pretend you have grid tie solar, but the power company doesn't pay you very much money for any excess you send back to the grid. So you want to try to use as much as you possibly can on site at home. Well, you can set this up so that some of these clamps are monitoring the solar power coming into your panel. And then go ahead and set up an automation where if you're starting to get more than, say, 3,000 watts of solar, then turn on a smart plug that has, say, like a window air conditioner attached to it. So then your air conditioning is going to turn on and start consuming some of that excess solar power on site before you push it back to the grid. But let me tell you the best news of the day with this. And this is where Refoss is really powerful. It integrates with Home Assistant. So you're not tied to their ecosystem. And that is really fantastic. So use this as your monitoring base, right? But go ahead and connect it to your Home Assistant and let the Home Assistant run all the automations, crunch all the numbers and all of that, because it has so many more options and flexibility than what comes baked in the app. This has basic stuff, but the real power with this gets unlocked using it with Home Assistant. You guys always have very cool ideas and thoughts, and I learn a lot from you. So let me know down in the comments. I'll have links to Refoss down in the description, so be sure and check them out. I also have links down there where you can submit a guaranteed to be answered question to me, as well as book a one-on-one video consultation. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hype, the 5 free things that really help small YouTube channels like mine grow and flourish. I really appreciate your help with that so that I can continue to bring this free content to you guys. Can't wait to see everyone's comments. Everyone stay safe, and we'll catch y'all next time.